Amidst the neon-lit skyline and bustling streets of Hong Kong, a pressing issue looms large, overshadowing the city's prosperity and dynamism: the unaffordability of housing. How did this once-colonial outpost, transformed into a global financial powerhouse, find itself ensnared in a housing crisis of such magnitude? Who bears the responsibility for this escalating dilemma, and what pathways exist to alleviate the burden on its residents? In this exploration of Hong Kong's housing crisis, we embark on a journey to unravel the intricacies of its origins, confronting the tangled web of historical legacies, economic dynamics, and policy failures that have contributed to the city's housing woes. Historical context. To comprehend the depth of Hong Kong's housing crisis, one must first peer through the lens of its colonial past. Under British rule, Hong Kong's land policies were shaped by a laissez-faire approach that prioritized economic development over social welfare. Land auctions and leasehold agreements became the primary mechanisms for allocating land, leading to the consolidation of vast swathes of territory in the hands of a few powerful property tycoons. This concentration of land ownership laid the groundwork for a housing market characterized by scarcity and speculation, setting the stage for the challenges that persist today. One pivotal policy that epitomizes this legacy is the small house policy introduced in the 1970s. Intended to preserve the rights of indigenous male villagers to build small houses on their ancestral land, this policy inadvertently fueled a wave of unregulated construction and land hoarding. In the absence of stringent oversight, developers and speculators exploited loopholes in the system, erecting clusters of tiny, often illegally built structures that strained infrastructure and exacerbated overcrowding in urban areas. Economic dynamics. Hong Kong's ascent as a global financial hub has been a double-edged sword, bringing with it unprecedented wealth and opportunity, but also exacerbating socio-economic disparities and housing inequality. The influx of multinational corporations and high-net-worth individuals has fueled demand for luxury properties, driving up prices and squeezing out middle and low-income residents from the housing market. Meanwhile, stagnant wages and widening income inequality have left many Hong Kongers struggling to afford even the most basic housing accommodations, perpetuating a cycle of poverty and deprivation. Speculative investment, both domestic and foreign, has further distorted the housing market, transforming homes into commodities for profit rather than places of shelter and sanctuary. Fluctuations in property prices driven by speculation have created an environment of uncertainty and volatility, making it increasingly difficult for ordinary citizens to secure stable and affordable housing. The pervasive influence of speculative capital has also fueled social tensions and resentment, as locals grapple with the reality of being priced out of their own neighborhoods by wealthy investors seeking to maximize returns. Policy failures. Navigating a maze of inertia and gridlock. While external factors undoubtedly play a significant role in Hong Kong's housing crisis, the city's own government must also bear its share of responsibility for exacerbating the problem through a series of policy failures and regulatory shortcomings. Despite repeated calls for comprehensive housing reform, successive administrations have struggled to implement meaningful measures to address the root causes of the crisis. The government's reliance on market mechanisms and its reluctance to intervene in the housing market have only served to perpetuate the status quo, leaving many Hong Kongers trapped in a cycle of unaffordability and uncertainty. Moreover, political gridlock and bureaucratic inertia have hindered progress on much-needed reforms, as competing interests and entrenched stakeholders clash over divergent visions for the city's future. The lack of political will to challenge vested interests and implement bold solutions has allowed the housing crisis to fester, perpetuating a sense of disillusionment and frustration among the populace. Meanwhile, short-term fixes and half-hearted attempts at addressing the symptoms of the crisis have only served to prolong the agony, failing to tackle the systemic challenges that underpin Hong Kong's housing woes. As we peel back the layers of Hong Kong's housing crisis, a complex tapestry of historical legacies, economic forces, and policy failures emerges, painting a portrait of a city grappling with the consequences of its own success. From the colonial legacy of land scarcity and speculation to the pressures of globalization and speculative investment, the roots of the crisis run deep, intertwining with the fabric of Hong Kong's identity and shaping its urban landscape. Yet, amidst the despair and disillusionment, glimmers of hope emerge as communities come together to demand change and envision a more equitable future. By confronting the systemic challenges that underpin the housing crisis and embracing bold, transformative solutions, Hong Kong has the opportunity to redefine itself as a city where housing is a fundamental right rather than a privilege reserved for the wealthy elite. Only through collective action and visionary leadership can Hong Kong hope to break free from the shackles of unaffordable housing and build a more inclusive and sustainable future for all its residents.